Class 14, you should be lined up at the gate. Class 15, you should be on your way to the ring. And Class 16, you should be thinking about it. Really simple.
Well, I didn't pick him very good. You were close. I thought she was going to win the whole thing. We got shortchanged. She was too crazy. Lord Brian.
Is it yours? It's mine. It's up and running. It looks good.
That's it?
You go big stuff? The progress show is up and running and it looks good on Facebook.
Do we need to get his name? Or is just the one that's with him with the camera?
Okay. So Shorty came from old country. He's cooking his food right now. It's hot. There's no snow on the ground. This is the coldest we've been in Arizona National since so he should be lucky.
Here we go.
It could be 72. He really did go. Yeah.
Did a live stream finally work?
Yes.
Thank God. Take me out.
That's okay. It'll always be slight delay because it's got to go all the way up right now. Looks good.
Where would that be? Oh, we posted this good picture.
Yeah, that ain't good. That's a liability. That's really that ain't good.
Following our progress steer classes, we're going to take a little short break while we get some pictures, and then we'll go right into showmanship. Be thinking about that. When we're on that little break, a little trivia question for you. If you can give me the answer, I got a little something for you up here. Don't worry, it's not that big a deal. The question is, do you know the difference between a fairy tale and a cowboy story? Come tell me the answer during our break. I got a little something for you.
Alright, as we move into the first class of progress steers, again, not quite the numbers that we saw in some of the classes in the prospect show, but still some things that are good about each and every individual. The black steer is the one that's the best looking through the front 1/3 of his body. With that, he's the longest spine steer that's still got some shape and power and dimension when he's standing behind me. And he's agile enough in terms of the way that he goes, I can change them all in terms of their handle, off either end of their skeleton. But that's the one that's the logical one for me to grab onto and lead off this class with. The red steer is really good in terms of power and meat animal shape, center body width. He's a calf that's frailer and more refined in terms of his bone and foot as the black steer, and he's not quite as elite to the front 1/3 of his body. The red painted steer is one that's really high-headed and long-necked, flat and long and level in terms of his top line. A calf that wants to get underneath himself in terms of his movement. He's not as opened up or burly in terms of his rib cage. Gray steer is big-boned and flat-backed, one that's a little narrow and wants to travel that way as well. This yellow steer is one that you have to appreciate the top side shape and power. That one's too round out of his hip and too short to the front 1/3 of his body. And the young man that we close with, again, a really big-legged, rugged appearing one that's just a little awkward in terms of the way that he moves. He's not built as wide from the ground up when you get in behind him. Nice class. Give him a good round of applause.
First place in class 14, Tatiana Bullock. Second goes to Chad Odom, and third to Kaylin Haggard. Next up, we'll bring in class 15. Class 16, you need to be lining up at the gate. Abigail Milbeck,
It is. It's Facebook Live.
Christina Hoffman,
Yes.
Quinn Upalato,
Are the pigs and lambs
Grant
gonna be
Keller,
on it?
Yes.
Shelby Pernos, Michaela Aston. You need to line up at the gate. Class 17, be thinking about it. Be on the way. If you're one of the first or second place, hang close. This isn't going to take very long. We need you back in here.
we move into this second class here, once again, I'll say this a lot probably over the next 3 days. I can change them all in terms of the running gear to make them more ideal in terms of their structural integrity, call that a wash and judge them from there. The show ring oriented steer with lots of pizzazz and profile, and ladies for one that wins. Just one for his head and neck, walking that steel, got a huge back in him, he's wide and square out of his hip, got plenty of shape and muscularity. One that's ample enough in terms of his body depth, because he's really round and robust in terms of his rib. I'm not going to tell you he's perfect in the way he gets along from behind, but in this class he's sound enough, and the one that needs to win. The 1 and 2 is built like a Mack truck as you get in behind him, so wide and burly in terms of build, one that's tremendous in terms of depth of side, one that really is going to feed well into that fat steer. Show judge, he's too plain about the front 1/3 of his body. He wants to roll with his hind two ever so slightly. But if you like him because he's just the stoutest and the most powerful and want him to win, I can see that. The orange steer that comes in 3 is more extended up front, taller and more elevated at the point of his shoulder. He's more fashionable level out of his hip. He's too flat in the way that he's built from behind, wants to get underneath himself in terms of his movement. The gray steer is one that you appreciate the foot and bone. Again, a calf that's a little narrow in terms of his gauge, a little awkward and short stepping or shuffling from behind. The blue bone steer is gorgeous, long, front 1/3 of his body. Really appreciate how high that neck comes at the top side of his shoulder. He wants to sway and settle in terms of his top line, get out underneath himself and outside of his skeleton off either end. And then the black and white steer again, one that's powerful and huge in terms of muscularity and rib. He's got to be changed in his proportions for me because he's the heaviest through the front 1/3 of his body. We need to see him sleeker in terms of his design, and he's too straight through his shoulder and knee. Give him a nice round of applause.
First place,
What's the
class 15,
Oh,
goes
that
to
comment.
Amanda Genzer. Second, to Tanner Larkin. Next in the ring is class 16. We have 6 entries in 16. Class 17, you need to be lining up. And class 17 is the last class of the progress show, so we need our first and second place from each class. 14, 15, 16, 17, ready to walk into the ring when we get done with that class 17. So on deck, lining up the gate right now for class 17, we need Keston Zimmerman, Lainey Frazier, Chloe Dugan, Emmeline Mellon, Palin Sturr, Ashlyn Roki, and Madden Zingham. We need you lined up and ready to go to enter the ring for the next class.
Again, class, in terms of what your priorities are is how it's going to shake out. I hate to sound like a broken record. I need to change them all significantly in terms of their feet and legs for me to be more comfortable with. Called out a Welsh and sold them from there. Alright, as we said, call it a wash and sort them from there. The light yellow steer is one that I really appreciate the mean animal shape that he displays. He no doubt feeds with a more aggressive, bolder top line, as you've seen from the back side of his shoulder. He's definitely the steer that has more hip and width through his stifle. He's one that's good in terms of his bone and foot. He's longer sided than the steer that comes in two. His blinkers up front point towards Dallas and Fort Worth at the same time. And we need to change that, and they need to be straight and square, and he's a calf that really gets hesitant and restricted off of his rear too. But the black and white steer that comes in two straighter through his shoulder and knee, and again, one that's pretty rigid in terms of his rear hop. There's more power and more shape and substance in the light-colored one that wins. The steer in two is one that's a little fresher in terms of his look through the front one-third of his body. He's a deep-sided steer that's got enough rib shape. Again, he's not as powerful in terms of his make or build, and as we said, he's a little straight and silty off either end. The red steer that ran around the ring and liked to show off for us, that one is probably the most agile of the top three, and he showed that off for us out here. He's a steer, though, that as you got in behind him, he wasn't as wide in terms of his make or build. He was a little frailer in terms of his bone and foot. The red and white steer is one that's powerful and just sounder than the remaining two. He's a little rougher around the edges and not as show ring oriented. The heifer that comes next is long spine. She wants to get underneath herself in terms of her movement. She's too convex and closed in terms of her rib shape. And then we close the class with the black steer, really attractive and long spine. Again, gotta have more depth to side and fat steer feeding ability in that particular animal, and really wants to get underneath himself in terms of the way that he goes. Give it a nice round of applause.
Yeah, roll it. Keep holding the class.
Our winners in Class 16. First place goes to Quinn Osalato. Second to Frank Keller. Next in the class, we're going to bring in Class 17. This is our last progress steer class, Class 17. Right after this, we'll bring in our first place animals to select our grand. Second place need to be ready. Outside the ring, ready to go. That is your class. Class 14, we need our 14 winner, Tatiana Bullock. We need you ringside, along with our second place, Chad Odom. From class 15, we need Amanda Ganser and Tanner Larkin. In class 16, Quinn Pasolato and Grant Keller. Be on deck, ready to walk back in and pick our champion in reserve.
Alright, as we close out the progress show here, the black steer is the easy thing to do. In terms of steers and contemporaries that we've seen so far, that's definitely the best looking one that's walked in the ring in the progress show. He's so cool to the front one third of his body, yet for a steer that's verging on being market ready and fat steer looking. He's one that's tight in his chest. He's beautiful in terms of his lines and balance, and he's got an ample amount of muscularity to him in foot and bone. Is he perfect in the way he moves? No, but in this group and of what we've seen in these classes, he's one of the more agile ones, even though he is just a little stiff off either end. Are there cattle that are going to be more massive and wider built than him? Yes, there are, but he is a really good-looking show ring oriented one that I think wins fairly easily. Congratulations to you. I think the toughest decision is between 2 and 3. Young man steering second's never going to be blessed with the fluffy cow syndrome, and I understand that. That calf, though, when you get in behind those two cattle, that one's square and wider out of his hip. He is better in the way that he handles his rear hip and hog, and he's a calf that's just nicer and fresher in terms of his neck. He needs to be deeper sided and bolder sprung, and they both need to have more total muscularity. I like his build better. The dark red steer's long as a wall rope, and one that's actually got some foot and bone to him, but he's a steer that wants to sway and settle in terms of his top line. And again, he's not as aggressive in terms of his top side power. He's flatter about his hip and his quarter. The opposite comes in the yellow roan calf, and in some of y'all are running to second because he is so massively made in terms of his shape and his muscularity that is displayed in his foot and bone. I can understand that. For me, this calf's just too coarse through the front 1/3 of his body. He really gets outside of himself in terms of the way that he travels, in terms of skeleton. Anyway, these black steer rolling around next again, one that's got lots of extension, and he is a big-legged one. He's one that, again, that wants to sway and settle in terms of his top, but to be built wider from the ground up. The gray steer is one that you appreciate how square he is out of his hip and strong in his top. He's frailer in terms of his foot and bone, and one that's flatter in terms of his muscularity. The black steer that we close with is deep-sided and deep-flanked. He's a steer that's too tense and tight, and the top side of his spine really gets short-sided off either end. Give him a nice round of applause.
Okay, first place in this class goes to Emmeline Mellon. Second, Preston Zimmerman. Third to Cashlyn Ropke. We need to bring in our first place winners from each class 14, 15, 16, and bring back our first place in this last class to select our champion. We need all the second place exhibitors on deck right outside the ring so we pick our reserve. Following our champion and reserves selection, we'll take a short little break to take some photos in front of the backdrop, work the ring a little bit, and then we'll start in on our showmanship classes for the prospect steer classes. While that little break's going on, we have the hacienda right behind us, behind the announcer stand over here with food and beverages.
Let me ask. Can you use that real quick to see what location? Oh, okay. Light touch. Oh, you're holding. Okay. Hold the hands going. Okay.
Well, as we go to select the champion, progress, and reserve steer, once again, these kids worked as hard as the prospect kids. Please show them a round of applause for their efforts out here. And I think it's pretty cut and dry on where we need to go for the top end, and then, the reserve decision can bounce a couple of different ways. Not going to go back through and describe those things to you. I've done that pretty good in class, and to be honest with you, I don't know if we found the perfect structured one out here, but there's been lots of cool parts and pieces, and I'm going to be very happy with the two that go on and take the banners. And, I know we've got showmanship to go, but this is kind of the close of a 4-act drama throughout the next 3 days, and I can't tell you how excited I am to be here. And I have to tell you, the Arizona National, thank you so much for having me, because they asked me this time last year if I'd come back and start the junior show, and I was overwhelmingly grateful. And, it is an incredible opportunity, and it is also a responsibility, and I realize that. And, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to know a lot more of the kids that walk in the ring and a lot more of y'all standing on ringside than I'm not. And I'm okay admitting that. Because as long as I've been around and as much as I've judged, I'm going to get to know a lot of people, and that's fine. It's not going to have one bit of difference in how these things are sorted out. Because when I signed that contract and I boarded that plane yesterday, my priority was not to make and maintain friendships. I do have priorities, and that's not it. And if you're going to be asked and accept this sort of major show, I don't think that can be your priority, because if it is, you're not prepared to make the tough decisions, and I am. I hope when the dust settles at the end of the day, we're all the same as we were, but I do have some priorities, and first and foremost, it's going to be absolutely honest in how they're aligned and sorted, and I can assure you that. Number two, I'm going to describe them as articulately and accurately as I can, and I hope it's entertaining and fun, because I'm going to have a great time, and that's what I set out here to do. And at the end of it, you may not like me, and that's fine, but if I do accomplish those things that I've set out, then you're going to respect me, and I'd rather be respected than liked any day. And so that's what I'm here to do. I hope y'all have a good time, because I sure enough am, and I can't wait till tomorrow and the next day. Give all the kids in the Arizona National and yourselves a big round of applause. We'll show you the Grand and Reserve.
Congratulations to our champion progress steer. That goes to Emmeline Mellon. And our reserve will go to Tatiana Bullock. Give him a big hand. We're going to take a brief break here to get some pictures, some of the backdrop stuff, work the ring a little bit.